Hello there. Thank you again for joining another great episode of Building Legacies. I'm here with Stanley and Eric. And Eric, I have to speak on that hat, that Yankees hat. You representing New York.
I have to put in my New York bag, man. I've been feeling out the loop for a little while.
Hey, listen, you left me out the loop. I would have had a matching one, dog. But
Actually, this kind of guys is how you gonna wear this hat now. It's just kind of
it's a
put on my
look.
today. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I like that Yankees hat. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? So, we had a recent election, right? And I think we need to talk about that, how the 2024 election results may affect the economy. And like we know that this podcast is called Building Legacies and is all about empowering people with their finances, helping them to become more, financially responsible. And I had read an article that it said that 50% of Americans believe that the results of the presidential election directly will impact their finances, right? And this is according to a financial services company called Empower. So I wanted to get you guys, take on this.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause just from just listening to people in general, I was listening to a guy. I was just ear hustling over here, some guys, right? And uh, they were talking about what they anticipate from, what's going to result from the election as far as economically. And they're under the impression that, they're going to be better off, right? Um, Financially as a result of the election. And although, nothing has been set in stone in terms of policy in regards to that, but it's just the psyche and the feeling, right? And one thing I know about that is consumer spending, right? It's really based on how you feel about what's going on around you economically. Whether you decide, hold on, we can't really be spending no money right now because things are tight, based on maybe things that you're hearing in the news, things that you're seeing in the last, few years. There's been a lot of uncertainty, so you've seen a lot of hoarding of money. But now people, from what I'm hearing, people are starting to feel like, oh, the economy is going to be better, right? For whatever reason, maybe they are hearkening back to some years prior. But when I'm listening to people, some people, not everybody, but how they feel the economy is going to be going forward. So that I think is going to uh, be a stimulus to the economy because as more people feel good about the economy, they spend more.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
and as they spend more, there's more money in circulation. You start to see that even affects businesses because now, like the manufacturers and producers, as they're starting to see more money circulating toward them, they start to hire more people. They start to produce more products. So it's like just like a circular effect. You know what I mean? So it starts with, I think, with people, the way they feel about what's to come in terms of the economy. So I just been kind of listening to people, just trying to get a feel for how people feeling, and I mean, people feel good about it.
Right, right. So it's like the anticipation. And I would say, too, I'm pretty sure that a lot of Americans are looking forward to some sort of tax reform, tax cuts. Also, they're
Mm.
probably looking, forward to some looser financial conditions, so that this can be like a catalyst to stronger business investment. But this is all just up in the air, so we won't know until next year when
Right.
President elect takes office and see what kind of policies will really take play. But I feel, and I read also too that some of the top three concerns of Americans, especially during this election, and one of them being the biggest one is inflation. 41% of Americans, they rank inflation
Hmm.
as their number one concern during this election. And then healthcare, the rising cost of healthcare costs, so that's been like a second concern of Americans. And then, affordable housing. We all know that rents, have skyrocketed. The price of homes, have skyrocketed. And that's just not, locally like where we live at, but that's just throughout the region. We see
Right.
tremendous, price increases when it comes to rent. And home prices too. So I'm sure that a lot of Americans are looking for some sort of relief, in those areas. So definitely, I feel that the president, the election definitely will have an impact on the economy. We just kind of got to wait and see what that effect is going to be. So that's my take.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Now we got to keep in mind that Wall Street and Main Street is two separate things, right?
Yeah.
So Main Street is a representation of the average person, the average man or woman out here that's trying to go to work to make ends meet, right? Their concern is not really structured on the market, even though the market had a record high at the end of this election because there's certain sectors, as far as the energy sector or manufacturing, is looking forward to this presidency, so maybe they can increase the bottom line. So as far as Wall Street and Main Street being different now, Wall Street is thriving because it was at an all-time high after the election results, an all-time high, right, on speculation that it's going to be good business for the next 2 years or the next 4 years. So
Right.
we got to make sure that we speak in terms of those of us who are small business owners or those of us who are entrepreneurs and businesses, right? It's a give and take when you look at this, when you look at these new policies that may come into effect, because when he gets into the presidency, he might want to put tariffs on goods coming into the United States, right? And most likely it's going to affect China because most of the goods that's coming in is from China. Now, those of us who buy Chinese products at a low price and then want to mark up for a high price here, if he put tariffs on those products, we have to understand as business owners, as small business owners, entrepreneurs, that that's going to increase the amount of money that we spend on goods. Therefore, the profit margin is going to decrease, and many people are going to have to pass that on to the average consumer, Main Street.
Right.
Pass that on to the average consumer. So there's many different variables involved. Yeah, the stock market went to an all-time high, but we also got to know the disparities between those who are invested in the market and those who are not. Those who are, they happy. They could sit back and they can see the energy, may boom and the manufacturing may boom. But we got to be very careful and keep an eye on because this may affect the bottom line when you have to pay more for goods. You're going to have to pass that on to the consumer. And like Bridget said, I agree. Consumers are worrying about all of these different things. How far can their paycheck take them? You feel what I'm saying? So they worry. The most important thing is food, clothing, and shelter. But how far can their paycheck take them when they got to start paying more for these goods that are coming?
Right.
Definitely, I agree with that. So I mean, the cost of things is going to definitely be and is one of the main concern for Americans, and then I would say as well to the lack of affordability when it comes to purchasing certain items. Like we know inflation has risen over the years, and it would be great if there was like a magic level where we can just turn down inflation. So I don't think any president can come into office and just magically turn it down, but they will have to strategize and find ways of where they can kind of get it like in control, because that's one of the top issues in inflations and the lack of affordability of things. Mm-hmm.
Right. And one measure that I know that they could take is well indirectly. Well, I mean directly and indirectly uh, of who they appoint or who's in charge of the Federal Reserve, right? Because they primarily deal with monetary policy. So with monetary policy, they could affect inflation. And we've seen recently, they just had a meeting, the FOMC, not too long ago, where they lowered interest rates, right? And then, and we know how that affects, individuals as far as making money more affordable. As far as loans, you could get it, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's mortgages, car loans, certain credit cards, but whether if it's a variable kind of credit card, rate, it could potentially lower that. So that's one measure that they could take as far as reducing inflation. The Fed, you know what I mean, lowering interest rates. That's a major thing. You know what I mean? Making money more, because I know their target rate generally is around 2 to 3%. But lately, as of late, we know it's skyrocketed 9, almost 10%. And that's ridiculous. It's like you go in the supermarket now, you spend $100, you don't even need a bag half the time. You can just put that stuff in your pocket.
Got a handful of items, right?
It was a time when $100 went further, and not too long ago, you know what I mean? But we know as a result of like the pandemic, for one, the government had to implement some things, and ultimately affected us later, because it was something I was reading, and this was during like the height of the pandemic, so in which they had to intervene, right? But you had a lot of economists instructing that if you inject too much money into the economy by way of stimulus and all of these things, they injected about $3 trillion into the economy. And there's an economist, he's a Nobel laureate, he's deceased now, named Milton Friedman. And he has a book called Free to Choose that I have. I encourage people and recommend it. But in that book, Free to Choose.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent book. And he actually have like a documentary that you can watch online where he's covering every chapter of the book. This is like in the 70s. But, economics is just as economic. And in that book, he talked about the cure for inflation. He talked about the cause of inflation. And one thing he spoke of is, one, printing too much money, right? The government, and injecting too much money into the economy, because what it's going to lower the value of existing money, right? Especially now that the dollar isn't backed by anything. You know what I mean? It was a time when the dollar was backed by gold. You know what I mean? So based on the amount of gold that was in the treasury, was amount of money that could be printed. It had to be related. Now there's nothing backing it. They could just print money all day long, right? So although I understand that, we were in a dire period, especially during pandemic, unemployment reached almost depression levels. You know what I mean? So we was losing jobs so rapidly. So people needed what they needed. And then one thing he speaks about in that book is that initial euphoria, right? So you're getting that relief and that stimulus. We seen it, brothers and sisters, right? With that stimulus money, right? And then when I read that book, I know that once that money circulates through the economy, it's going to result in inflation, because it reduces the value of existing money, right? Because you got too much money after too little goods, right? That's what drives inflation. So I knew it was coming, right? So I see people that was happy. You seen them on social media with the stimulus money and all that. Now you see everybody depressed. You know what I mean? I see it coming, right? So I just say that to say that was just a little story that they do have a measure to where they could kind of get a grip on inflation. And I think inflation is coming down, not at the rate that we would like, because still gas prices are extremely high. And especially for me, I drive a truck, so diesel is extremely high. Like all my profits is going into the gas tank. You know what I mean? So I'll be happy when they could get a handle on that. As we know, the supermarket, like we mentioned, you're not getting, as much value for your dollar. You know what I mean? So hopefully the, president-elect and his administration, when they come in, they could kind of get things back in order, because that's the main issue, like you mentioned, Kai, with Main Street. It's kitchen table issues. Most people are not concerned about all that other stuff in terms of like macroeconomics. They just want to know, how is that going to affect my bottom line? You know what I mean? My child care expenses are through the roof. Just everything. You know what I mean? People are living more on debt today.
Absolutely.
in previous, times, because trying to make ends meet, you got to swipe that credit card. You know what I mean? And we know what comes with that, the exorbitant usurious interest rates that they have in those cards. You know what I mean? But yeah, so hopefully things could get back in order so we could get back to some kind of
Normalcy.
normalcy.
If it ever was any normalcy.
Right, if it ever was.
Well, people think, back then during COVID when we had like the 2 and 3% interest rates, they were
Right.
everyone was loving that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I purchased my home on that.
Yeah, yeah. And so now that interest rates have increased since that time, a lot of, when it comes to purchasing a home, a lot of home buyers, they're on like the sideline because not only are interest rates higher than what they were before, but home prices, are higher. And if you look back historically, like back even in, like the 70s, I know like with my parents, when they purchased their home, the price was much, much lower than what it is now.
Mhm.
Although they did have a much higher interest
Mhm.
rate was about 13%. But
Right,
that lower home price, it kind of balanced it off, but now we have, it's not as high as 13%, but it's higher than what it was some years ago. But then the home prices have skyrocketed.
right,
Someone, trying to obtain a mortgage now, it's, depending
right,
on what market you're in, it's like thousands of dollars. So people are kind of hesitant as far as purchasing a home, because of that reason. So they're like waiting on the sidelines. They're hoping for like some de-inflation and to see what's going to come along with this new president, to see if there's going to be any sort of relief where they can jump
So
back
even so
into
even with so even with the tax, even with the interest rate cuts, you think people are still holding on, even with the cuts of the interest rate?
yeah, because if you're purchasing a home, and I believe the interest rates right now somewhere they're hovering somewhere like around 6 and 7%. But like in my region, where I'm at, I mean, home prices, you have some homes that's probably like close to $1 million. So when
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
put that interest rate on a property that's costing that much, and it depends on how many families, that's not the average price of a single family in my market, but definitely like, I'm seeing that for like a 2 or 3 family home, that means, you're gonna have a mortgage easily of 5, 6, $7,000 depending on the price. And
Mm,
that's just the mortgage, and you have other living expenses as well
absolutely.
too. So,
Mhm.
if your income is not up to that, you don't want to just be working, just to pay a mortgage and struggling. So a lot
Right,
of people are on the sidelines when it, so they're looking for some relief when it comes to the interest rates, so that it could be more affordable as far as purchasing homes. That's
right, right,
Yeah.
my take on.
So another issue that I think they might address when he come in is tax cuts, right? And they want to give tax cuts to corporations, and they also want to give tax cuts to higher earning individuals. And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that the higher earning individuals, 150,000 single, 250 for a couple. I think they want to give a tax rate to that. And they also want to give those tax rates to corporations because you got to understand that the tax rate for them right now, that's why they go to these different countries and they set business up there, because the tax rates are so low, even if it's in existence, right? And they can keep more of the profit. So what he want to do is cut, or the desired plan is to cut taxes so that it would give companies incentives to want to bring their business back here to America, pay the pay rate that people need, and manufacture goods here to sell it across the country. I mean, across the world. But like I said, those tariffs is going to be tricky, because if you try to put tariffs on other countries, they're going to try to increase the tariffs on you. That's
right,
going to become a trade war.
right,
Um, so it's going to be a delicate balancing act. But as far as, like we say, us, the mainstream, or many of the mainstream, and that bottom line we speak of, we have to, at some period of time, honestly, try to individually, and this is what this podcast is, man, building legacies, to give people the spark energy, the spark idea, become more knowledgeable. Knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you can make a better life for yourself. So we know that everybody's not going to be entrepreneurs. Everybody's not going to be business owners. So how can you figure out to get in this game, right? And without instilling your 9 to 5, like Bridget said, you can get in the real estate game without actually being a real estate agent. You can get in this game. You can get in the stock market through DRIPS programs, direct reinvestment programs in the stock market. A little bit at a time, you can still get into these institutions and these programs and try to reach for this so-called American dream and not just get stuck where you are. So regardless of who won this election, it doesn't matter. We have to figure out how we can each year, each term, each president fit ourselves into this economy where we have different streams of incomes coming in. And once you get to that level, certain times you're not even going to care who's in there, right? Because it's not going to stop your mind.
Right.
So that's what this podcast is about. That's what it's for, is to spark interest in how you're going to build a legacy and leave a legacy behind in any aspect that's it.
Right. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, Stanley, as well too. And I like what you said. The more you know, the more you grow.
Absolutely.
And I mean, of course, the outcome of the election is definitely going to have an impact on the nation's economic landscape. But we gotta, think within ourselves as individuals too. This is how I look at it. Like you said, regardless of who becomes president, you're in control of your own financial destiny, regardless of is it Democrats win or the Republicans. Understand me? So you have to be in control of your own financial future, regardless of who gets in, who gets in place. So we have to always think with that mindset too, because we are in control of our own financial destiny.
Right. Good point. And I just want to add on that um, we have to, specifically in the African American community, we have to realize that investing is not just for other people, right? Because too often we sit on the sidelines watching other cultures, communities participate in stock, just say stock market, and we'll sit back and say that's not for us. You know what I mean? And when it's wide open, you know what I mean?
It's wide open.
It's wide open, and it is for us. You know what I mean? We could get involved, start putting our money into the market. You know what I mean? And get a piece of America. You know what I mean? Through investing. So that's something I encourage people, just in general. You know what I mean? To get involved, study, learn, research, acquire more knowledge, so that you are a little more prepared. You know what you're doing. And me personally, anything that I pursue, I like to research thoroughly. I do a lot of due diligence, and what it does is it increases my confidence in pursuing it. Because like with me, if I don't understand something, I don't get involved with it per se. Like I remember reading a book with Warren Buffett, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they was asking him about certain sectors and industries that he doesn't touch per se. He said, "I don't touch it because I don't understand it." You know what I'm saying? But he said, now he don't just follow the crowd per se. He's like, man, if I can't understand it, like I think initially he was dealing with when the tech industry was starting to boom. He's 90 something years old, so he done seen all of that come into existence. So, and they was asking him, why aren't you involved in that per se? He said, I don't understand it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I understand, insurance. I understand real estate. I understand investing and acquiring companies. So I practice that as well. You know what I mean? So I research a thing. If it's hard for me to grasp it, I don't really deal with it per se.
On social media marketing, you can get into affiliate marketing. You can get into e-commerce. We got to start studying open AI. We got to start studying all these new things. And it doesn't have to necessarily mean you doing your own thing. Even if you want to get a better position, job, take these courses on open AI. Take these courses that's going to position you later on in life to be in a better place. Because Chat GPT and OpenAI, they're still going to need people to put the information into the system for them to analyze it, right? We got to start teaching that too, not just go ahead and a trade is fine, but I'm talking about if you really want to position yourself within the next 5, 10 to 15 years, especially when you're younger, You got to get on the new things that are coming up. ChatGPT, OpenAI, all these things is new. So we'll touch on that in other episodes as well. But as always, I love talking to y'all. And as always, man, we do a magnificent job. I think so. We love when people tune in. We've been getting some good feedback.
And also, too, I forgot at the beginning of the show, I should have made a disclaimer, too, that, we're not providing any kind of financial advice. We're not CPAs. We're not your financial advisor. We're just providing this information for educational purposes. So this is a disclaimer that we should have made at the very beginning. But nonetheless, I'm making it now.
And it still works the same. Absolutely.
Yes.
You reading my mind.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to also remind people to subscribe, like, and share to Building Legacies. There are other platforms called Building Legacies, but they spell the word out, Building Legacies. Ours is a play on the word. We thought that would make us stand out. It's BLDNG Legacies. So BLDNG Legacies. Now, I used to rap back in the days. I could have spent now, but BLDNG. Legacies, Building Legacies, man, and look out for us. And also, it's very important to like, subscribe, and share, but it's more important to comment. We want to get a feedback on how people either like or dislike how we're presenting this information, and also give us feedback on what information you're looking for.
Right.
So as always, I just love to be here, man, and I appreciate it.
And spread the word, spread the word. Tell your friends and stuff, let them join in on the podcast, especially the younger generation too, because we have a lot to teach you guys.
Right, absolutely, definitely.
Yes. Absolutely. And the people we know, we got to cut it out, man. The people we know, now there'll be a person that know you grew up with them forever, people that know your family and friends, they ain't logged on yet. They ain't tap in. They ain't subscribed yet. You know what I mean? Your man you done grew up with, he haven't subscribed yet. Stay on him, man, and we need as much people to support us as possible so that we can bring you the best information and also expand the show.
Yes. So I think this week is a great episode here.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we're pretty much at the end, unless there's something else you guys need to say.
Now, I was just also want to give definitely another shout out to this New York Yankees hat that I'm rocking.
And next time you're going to give me one now, okay? Because I'm
Yeah, and listen, it's like I feel like a superhero. Like when you got like a thing that you put on and it gives you powers. You know what I mean?
Listen, when you tuned in, I saw it. I automatically said, "Oh my God, I see the joint you got it on." Okay, it's good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my bag, you know what I mean. Sometimes I wear my Atlanta hat. They said when you in Rome, you do it the Roman, so I blend in.
Well, we love people from all over. We love all over. We love people from all over, and we want to thank you again for showing love with the Building Legacies podcast, man. And
tuning in.
Thank you.
All right.
Salute.
I'll say we done, y'all, so I can always edit it. And I think it was another good episode, man. Y'all are knowledgeable, man. I had to write some shit down. I had to write my man here of Free to Choose.
Free to Choose. Let me tell you something. Milton Friedman, right? Nobel laureate, Jewish guy, you know what I mean? But that's an excellent. Huh?
What's his name?
Milton Friedman.
Okay.
You see a lot of economists, they really refer to him. Y'all familiar with Tom Sowell?
No.
Like, black guy, he's from Harlem too, older guy, conservative guy. A lot of people don't really like him. You know how that be with conservatives, but he's super sharp, right? And he referred a lot to Milton Friedman as far as being a mentor to him, back then or whatever. And in that book, he discussed like everything from on a macroeconomic level. And then, so I definitely recommend that. Give you some perspective on various things, housing, trade, like you was talking about, tariffs, the effect of he wasn't with tariffs because he understood how that affects the consumer. You know what I'm saying? People gonna pass on that to the consumer. Ain't nobody gonna absorb that. They like, listen, okay, I gotta pay more. Gonna charge you
pay more.
Right.
Absolutely. So we should get back to, like you said, but we have to all, I believe, maybe be on the same page. If we pick a book, say at the beginning of the month, we can do the we got 12 months. We can do one on the fourth week of each month or the third week. Like we all pick a book that's suggested by one of us. We read it, and then now that'll be like another. That'll be like another.
There's more content, right?
Yeah, a separate content where we doing books. You know what I mean? Where we recommending the books and we're discussing the books. I think that'll also make us stand out.
Yeah, I think that'll definitely add value because then it'll give us a reference. Because sometimes people hearing us speaking, that's why I always like to refer to a book per se before I elaborate on it. And sometimes when people hear you speaking, they may take for granted what you're speaking, but you say, okay, listen, go check this book out. You know what I mean? And usually I have my bookshelf. I would have grabbed it and just showed the cover. You know what I mean? But I think that adds credibility. You know what I mean? So, because when you're dealing with issues of finance, people well, a lot of people are so gullible. You see people get scammed, but then you got a lot of people, they very apprehensive. Like, okay, who are these people talking this finance stuff? What's their credentials? What are their background?
Yeah, I'm glad she gave the disclaimer. You're right, because I was thinking about that all day yesterday.
Right.
That's a good disclaimer because it also covers us and it let people know that we ain't trying to come on here fronting. We just trying to spark a conversation, and you know what I mean?
Right. That's why I'm intentional about referring people to the book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's me saying this. You know what I'm saying? Tony Robbins said, you know, and you know what I'm saying? Then I go into it. So whereas they're the professionals, you know what I mean? So that's why I do that a lot. You know what I mean? I like to refer to the literature. It's not me saying it. You know what I'm saying?
It's what we learn.
Right.
It's powerful what you learn.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So as always, man, you know I love seeing y'all, man. When's the next joint? And what's the topic for the next joint? Maybe Tuesday we could do another joint. What y'all think?
Tuesday sounds good. That sounds good for me. Yeah, we're between now and then we come up with something. It's a lot going on. I'm sure we could find something relevant to what we do. You know what I mean?
I've been testing times. That's what I've been doing. The first one I put out at nighttime. The other one I put out in the daytime. And you know, like it's not getting good reception because we're just coming back. Whenever you
In
do,
the algorithm,
algorithms got to fill you again. They got to recommend you to people, and it also in the back end it tells you the best uploading time for this channel is between 9 and 12 a.m. Or sometimes it'll say it's between 9 and 11 p.m. on different days. So you got to find the days where we can anticipate we're going to get the most views. You feel what I'm saying?
And also, Bridget, me and Kyle was talking. And I sent y'all like I guess a video, whatever that was, of the different studios down in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
And Kyle's closer to me. So one thing we was thinking about was at some point in the near future, either he could come to me or we could find a spot. I'm sure they got something. Well, you in Columbus, right? Or Columbia.
Yeah.
I'll come out there where we could get into a studio. And Bridget, I know you're a little further away. We could and we get the studio. I think that would give us a little more. But put a little more eyes on us. So we're in a studio setting, and
we could do like 3 shows. We could do because it was what $50 an hour. We could
right.
probably do 2 or 3 shows and also probably interview somebody in one of those shows. Like if we all in the same location, you know what I mean?
Right.
Do you go to Atlanta often, Bridget?
No, but I do. I go to North Carolina a lot. I haven't been that much this year because I've been taking care of a sick relative. But you know, it's not too far from North Carolina.
Yeah. I'll be in Carolina. Well, depends on where at, but I'm in Carolina all the time. But,
so we can figure it out either way, y'all. We do that in the near future. That'll definitely make us look.
Yeah, I think a studio setting. I think we'll start to see a little better reception. So that's definitely a good message. Learn, read, you know, attend and seminars, different settings where you can learn. You know what I mean? So watch podcasts like ours because we're gonna consistently give you some food for thought, which would allow you at least open your mind up to different things. You know what I mean? I know at one time, Kyle, I know we started implementing, and I would like to get back to. We was having like book like a book club I mean,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, where we was, talking about different books and, introducing people to different literature that we may recommend that would help open your mind up, whether it's in real estate, self-help, because a lot of us really need to start there as well. You know what I'm saying? The self-help,
Sure, getting your
right?
mindset right, because it's
Get
like,
your mind
mhm.
Yeah, we're
right,
gonna have to start implementing that back in too. We're gonna work on that too. I agree.
right, and get your mind right first. You know what I mean? And then learn, what you need to learn about investing. So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, they say success and failure starts in your mind. So if you feel
Mm,
that you're not going to make it, you're right. If you feel that you can make it, you're absolutely right. So it
I
starts
Right.
like
with
that.
your mindset first, getting your mindset right, and then I would like to piggyback on what Eric said too. So whatever it is that you're going to get into, you want to do your due diligence and you want to understand what's going on. So like when I first started my journey, I used to read a lot of magazines, Kiplinger Money Magazine. I would read about the stock market. I have nothing against the stock market, but I just couldn't grasp it. I just couldn't get the full understanding, so I never
Mm,
did invest in it. And then when I was introduced to real estate, it just made more sense to me, and I was able to pursue that, because I understood it. But you definitely want to have an understanding of what it is that you're investing in. Don't just take it from someone else because they can lead you astray. So you want to do your own homework and your own due diligence and have an understanding, whatever it is, if it's a business, if it's a restaurant, whatever it is that you're going to invest in, you want to have that understanding. That's very
right.
important.
And just real quick, I
Hmm.
just want to add on, particularly with the stock market, right? And like I said, I read a lot of books. I read a good book where it was about Tony Robbins. I'm sure y'all familiar with him.
Yes.
He's like a motivational speaker. He gets you going, but he's smart. So he got a book called Money, and in the book, it's a compilation of he did a lot of interviews with all of the major investors and billionaires, right? Just to get their perspective on what to do when investing. And 100% of them, right? Because I seen a pattern with all of them. When they was talking about the stock market, they said you may not necessarily understand individual stocks, like fundamental analysis, because that requires a lot of research, quantitatively,
Yeah.
quantitatively. And so for some people, that may be hard to grasp. They all said index funds. You can't go wrong. The S&P 500, you getting a piece of 500 of the top performing businesses in the country, right?
Hmm.
Invest in that, right? And then you
Compound. Yeah.
compound. Exactly. You may see 8 to 10% average on return on your investment, but that's the recommended approach, right? For people that don't have the patience to deal with all of the technical things in terms of researching actual stocks. Because when you're researching an actual stock to invest in, now you get some people, they just say, if you like something, just invest in it. I don't agree with that. Like, for instance, they say, okay, you like the wear Nike, why don't you just invest in it? I mean, that's not necessarily a good approach, right?
Hmm.
Fundamental analysis, right? Which what you start to get and uncover certain uh, documentation of the company. Find their financial statements. You want to check out the health of the company. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? What is their competitive advantage? You know what I'm saying? So there's so many other things to consider versus, okay, you like this, just invest in it. You know what I mean? So if that's too time consuming for people and may not be able to grasp it, index funds. You know what I'm saying? The SB 500, sit your money there, park it, benefit from the compound effect, and yeah, do your